Welcome to Mind Your Biz, a new podcast from the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, a fresh, casual space for real conversations about business, life, and community. Hosted by me, Heather Bell, President and CEO. Each episode features one-on-one chats with local business leaders and corporate partners. We go beyond the company's headlines to explore the people behind the success, their passions, insights, and stories. Tune in for honest, inspiring conversations that showcase the human side of business and highlight what makes our county thrive. Welcome to today's episode of Mind Your Biz. I'm Heather Bell, the President and CEO of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined today by Joe Minuta, Principal Architect of Minuta Architecture. Joe, welcome.
Thanks for having me on the show today.
I'm so excited to have you here. Let's get right into it. Tell everybody who has no idea what an architect does.
I could be here for the entire podcast, but architecture, wow, it's a really bold subject. So basically, most people think they need an architect because they need a building permit or they need a set of plans or somebody just wants you to stamp something. That's not really what we do, and that's definitely not what my firm does. Mm-hmm. We design you a space. We design you an environment to live in. All of our clients that come to us, they have specific needs of what they want. We help them vet those needs. It may be looking at a property to see what they can do with the property, whether it's commercial, residential, or industrial.
So you work both commercial, residential, and industrial. There's no one specific niche.
We're a full-service architectural firm, and in our 24 years of business, we have touched upon every single aspect of architecture, from industrial, warehousing, retail. We're doing cannabis industry is huge right now.
Really? What would you design for cannabis industry?
So in the cannabis industry, they've got specific standards for OCM, New York State Office of Cannabis Management. And we need to make sure that our clients are meeting those regs for their space. For
growth?
Not just for growth, for just simple distribution.
So we're talking dispensary design.
We can do dispensary design. We've done 5 to date. We have more in the pipeline right now that we're working on, but there's very specific requirements of it. There's visual from the street. You can't show certain things. It's a kind of, it's like any other industry. So we used to do a lot of nightclub design and restaurant and catering hall design. And when it comes to the SLA, you have other requirements there where they have to be able to see into the bar area.
SLA, State Liquor Authority.
Yes, thank you.
So at what point do you call the architecture?
Up front. It should be your first phone call.
Really?
Not your building inspector, not anybody else. You call your architect first. The building inspector, although they can be really nice people, as a source, the problem is that they don't know your project the way an architect's going to know your project and what the things are that they're going to need to experience for that. So when you go to the building department, they might say, hey, you say, I want to do this, I want to do that. Well, yeah, you might be able to do that, and the zone allows for it, but what are all the other metrics that go into that? And that's what I do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our first call is to an architect.
Absolutely.
And will the architect know like zoning and planning and all of the codes?
That's what we do.
That's what you do.
So we'll take it right from project inception. You're looking at the planning and zoning aspect. So you come to me with a project, say I have a lot of land, I want to build X, Y, or Z here. I'll take a look at the zoning code, I'll take a look at the entire matrix that they have there, what's allowed, how many square feet, what's your maximum building area, your floor area ratio, maximum number of heights, can we get a variance if you have a taller building that you want to have. We just saw that experience in Amazon over in Wawayanda, right? So there's a lot that goes to it, and it's not just putting up the building, it's how many cars do you need? Right? What's the site look like? Do you need vehicular access for tractor trailers and loading zones? And what's the stormwater pollution prevention plan look like? And how big does that area need to be? Can it be under the pavement?
This isn't all done by the general contractor?
Absolutely not. The general contractor does what we ask them to do, what we put in document form. Oh. The general contractor is there to build. They're not there to design. They're not even permitted to design. Okay, it's including construction management. Construction management, you need to be a construction manager for a certain period of time. Value engineering, not permitted to be done by contractors. You must be an engineer with at least 3 years in New York State of construction evaluation and construction engineering experience to do value engineering.
Give us an example of like maybe the most intricate or complex project you've worked on.
Oh boy. I would say for a duration of time, the most complex was probably school district design. We did that for over a decade. And the complexity of it is getting the, first of all, you need to document existing buildings. That in of itself takes a lot of time. And I don't rely on these LiDAR things and you've got these mapping programs. We go in and we actually measure it ourselves because I have to be responsible.
So old school tape measure.
Old school, either lasers or tape measure or what have you, because even the LiDAR, it's not accurate. It's only accurate up to a certain percentage. And then after it's such a big room, you lose that accuracy.
And
so
you have to be precise
I'm responsible
down to
for
the
it.
inch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you get a set of plans from my company, what is there, I measured or my staff measured, and that's what's on the plan. And when it comes down to it, you really need to be within like a 1/4 inch of the entire building.
1/4 inch, wow, I thought an inch, okay, wow.
And then when it comes down to
Very
like
precise.
cabinetry work, you're like a 1/16 of an inch. So we may take that room, but you're gonna have your cabinet maker come in and they're gonna remeasure the room because they need that level of tolerance. Tolerances are extremely important in what we do.
Interesting. What about something that you wouldn't think you would need an architect for? Give me an example of that. I have one in mind, but I want to see what you don't realize that you need an architect for.
I don't realize you need an architect for. Oh boy. Code compliance maybe?
That's something.
So you fit up a room or a basement or you put an addition on and you just said, I'm just going to do this. And all of a sudden you go to sell your house and you don't have a certificate of occupancy for that space. We do a lot of that. I could do a whole nother division of my business just on that type of work. And unfortunately, it costs more to do it after the fact. Mm-hmm. And so, to the public, what I would say is start with us first. I mean, it's, you're going to spend the money one way or another, and you might as well spend it in a positive way rather than a negative way.
Okay, good way. It's also a way to save money. Right?
100%.
Because you've started correctly from the start and you're not backtracking and fixing.
I don't have to go back and reverse engineer what was done. Is there enough insulation in the wall? What's the wall made of? When was it installed? Are the studs all anchored? All of these things that are covered over, somebody's got to take a look at it, and the building inspectors do not do it. And by the way, they're no longer building inspectors. As of the early 2000s, they're called code enforcement officials, CEOs.
Oh, okay.
So it's a different level, and they're responsible for quite a few things. And New York State has pretty much given them the authority in their jurisdiction to be the end-all, be-all. You can go to the state and get an appeal or a variance, but your code enforcement official is the person that is really going to make or break the decisions. And
you are licensed to work in 50 states, is that correct?
No, but thank you.
Okay.
49 states.
I was close. Come on.
Washington, D.C. and Canada. The only one I'm not licensed in is Alaska. And in addition to being a registered architect, I'm also New York State Code Compliance certified. So I carry the same credentials as a code enforcement official. /
building inspector.
/ building inspector. I go to the exact same courses they do every year. We get 24 credits a year that we have to take. So I'm up to
let's
code
break
on
that
things.
down. If a code enforcement official comes in and says, this is not up to code, you can represent your client and say, yes, it is. Let me explain this to you.
We're doing that right now on a huge project in Maybrook, which is, I don't know if can I mention the...
You can mention whatever you want.
So the old, it's a great thing. So the old roadway, which was Yellow Freight in Maybrook, they went out of business, bankrupt. RL Carriers came in and they met with the municipality last year, and they were doing a lot of repair work. And so what ended up happening is they did, and it really is, it's a massive building. It's 1,700 lineal feet. It's over a quarter mile long.
Oh, I'm familiar. It was behind our office at one time.
Right, so you are familiar.
Yeah.
And so what happened was the building inspector or code enforcement official came in and slapped a stop work order on everything because it was such a massive amount of work that was going on. You really need to get your head wrapped around it. And this was very complex because we had to figure out what is the existing building and its certificate of occupancy? What are they doing? And are they doing anything that would trigger a building permit? Would it trigger an occupancy change, which means now the rest of the building needs to come up to current code rather than the code which it was built?
Oh.
So it's a very...
So they're not grandfathered in?
It's not a grandfathering. It's how much work have you done? Did you exceed 50% of the value? Did you exceed 50% of the space? How much space do you have? Do you have more than 3,000 square feet above and below in aggregate to force the ADA, American Disabilities Accessibility Law, right?
Oh, wow.
So now you're putting in an elevator or ramps or what have you and making sure that you have at least one accessible level. It's a very complex process. I am blessed to have a great team. One of my longest employees has been with us 10 years. I have code enforcement officials that are formerly New York State trained and worked for the state for over 20 years. These are my code gurus. We collaborate on code and what's required, and we don't even start a project until I do the code review.
So that's before you even put a drawing together?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So what I was thinking originally, before we got into code, was moving a historic building.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was a great project.
Talk about that.
So Blue Water contacted us. They were developing the 1 million square foot Amazon facility in Montgomery. Mm-hmm. And there was this historic building there that was deemed structurally sound. And they submitted to the state, and the State Historic Preservation Office said, this building is over 100 years old, it's historic in its nature, you have to preserve it. So it was in the way of the road. Mm-hmm. And so we had to move this building 150 feet to get it out of the way of where the road was going to be.
How do you move a historic building without
talk about complexity?
Compromising the structure?
It's a lot of R&D. And we have to deal with, this building was built from the timbers that were on the property.
Right.
And it was different in that the walls, the walls and the floor were actually into the masonry wall on the exterior. So every single one of the timbers was in the masonry wall.
Oh, wow.
So in order to
when
move that.
When you say masonry wall, like the foundation.
The foundation, which was stone rubble masonry, okay?
Oh, boy.
So how do you take a building like that and move it and still have it secured enough to move? So we had to engineer a solution to strap the entire building with angle iron. Interior of the building, we had to do temporary bracing with angles, and we had to support the structure, which we were cutting out, which was masonry. Masonry is only good in compression. It's not good in tension.
Oh,
so
boy.
There's a lot that went on for this. Had a great company, Nicholas Brothers, out of across the river. They've done a couple of buildings for us like this. And just an amazing process to watch and see. Standback, who was also a member, they were the contractors for the project. So I had to design the foundation next to it. We had to figure out, they had to dig everything out, right? And then they put cribs underneath it, which is a series of huge timbers that sort of lock together. Mm-hmm. They jack it all up, and then they've got these gigantic tires with hydraulics, and the whole thing is synchronized so they can move the building as needed so it stays level.
Wow.
And then it just rolls over planks, wood planks, over the dirt until you get to your site. And then once we got it in there, then they start building up the foundation from that. And it was a pretty miraculous feat, to say the least.
You know, I'm always so amazed by, I've traveled extensively through Italy, and especially Florence. I'm always so amazed at the architecture, and having conversations like this helps me dive even further back into what it took to create this. So, I think about the Brooklyn Bridge. That was built how many hundreds of years ago, 100 years ago, whatever. That's still
John Roebling. Yeah.
It's still standing, but yet we had a Tappan Zee Bridge that was maybe 30 years old and was falling into the Hudson River. So, talk about how things have changed over the years, that we have things standing, buildings and structures standing like in Rome and Florence and the Brooklyn Bridge, but yet we're building now and we have to rebuild, or, what's different when we have all of this machinery and we've come so far in technology, but we really haven't?
What's happened, in my opinion, is that we don't build for longevity anymore. Everything is built for a 20-year life cycle. Your shopping malls, they're good for 20 years, and then they morph into something else. Any product that's out there is 20-year lifespan, because technology changes very quickly. The way we do things changes very quickly, and the environment in which you operate also has to change with that, which is why my job is perpetual, right, as an architect, because we're constantly redesigning for those new changes.
So
but,
you touched on something there.
What's that?
Adaptive reuse.
Tons of adaptive reuse. I studied at Pratt Institute, and they told us back then that the majority of the world is already built. So you're going to utilize existing buildings for different uses, and adaptive reuse is a huge industry. You're taking existing materials and energy and labors and effort that has already been put into a building, and you're, rather than demolishing it, right, you're just wasting all of that time, effort, and money that's been done. Now you can take that same building and repurpose it for something else. So you've actually saved upon all of those aspects.
So let's give something to our audience that they can understand as far as adaptive reuse.
Sure.
Talk about like a church that's now a restaurant or bar.
Sure.
Right, like Terrapin in Rhinebeck. What do we have here in Orange County that our viewing audience would recognize as adaptive reuse?
Sure. So many years ago, I worked with Sister Eliana Hernandez for the Nora Cronin Presentation Academy, which is it's a school for girls in the city of Newburgh, and that was put together so that they could have a Catholic education in a school setting for underprivileged girls in the city of Newburgh. So we took a 1800s Queen Anne style farmhouse, and we
in the city of Newburgh?
In the city of Newburgh on the bluff.
Okay.
And we saw cut the entire building at the base, raised it 3 feet in the air, filled in all the masonry, and adaptive reused the entire building to be the old girls' school that it is today.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
So, I mean, that's just one aspect. And I get into some really weird situations. So, what's an architect do? He sits in an office all day. I'm on site. And for that particular project, it was a bomb. I shouldn't say bombed out building, but it was really bad. There was graffiti all over the place. There were literally vagrants when I walked in there that we had to remove and get, chase out. It was not a happy scene, not a good scene. Many of the buildings that we walk into like that, there's feces on the floor.
Oh, so
okay, human feces.
Yeah.
It's not a sexy type of thing. Afterwards, once everything's cleaned up and everything's redone, yeah. But to walk into a place like that is it's heart wrenching. It's also gut wrenching sometimes.
Yeah.
I've thrown away plenty of Timberlands after the site visit. But these are the types of things that are out there, and that our community as a whole, right? What do we do to improve our community? We improve the places that have been abandoned like this, so that they're not leeches on our society, right? And we're improving, economics. We're improving the beautification of where we live. These are aspects that my firm and my work focuses on.
Speaking of your work, your firm, your family, you come from a family of business owners.
I do, and I think by having to. My father's family, they came from Sicily, and I'm first generation here. And my mom, her family's been here since the Mayflower. So it's, I got both of those things. But as a necessity, they weren't formally educated, right? So they worked. My grandfather taught me masonry, stone masonry. I was mixing mortar, and he started to teach me to cut stone at 3 years of age, right? So there was that, and he and my uncles, they did a lot of work down at West Point. A lot of the stonework you'll see, especially at the chapel, that was all done by the Minuta family.
Wow! Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting bit there.
Yeah. So
I know you worked on the Firsties Club, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did the Firsties Club. That was a really cool project. Started out with just the floor floors were just a wreck. And what happened was, nobody knew it. The dishwashing machine, the pipe had broke and had flooded underneath for years. And they have sleepers, and these sleepers are these wood, basically it's wood planks that are set in concrete in the floor. And with all the water being in there, and it was clean water, so nobody smelled anything, they rotted. And what was happening is, once the moisture finally got to the wood of the floor, it starts buckling. And so they brought me in to take a look at that.
So I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to the fact that you learned masonry.
Okay.
That your family also owned many restaurants and lounges. So all of this, coupled with what you learned, at Pratt and various other educational sources, makes you full service.
It gives me adaptability into a lot of different places.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, being an entrepreneur, I never, I've worked corporate and I don't like corporate. I just don't. It's not for me. I like the ability to move in different projects. None of our projects are exactly the same, which I like. I don't like to be pigeonholed into one type of work or another. And as architects, I was trained, I'm on the Frank Lloyd Wright spectrum of architecture, whereas we're architects. We are here to design, and we're here to design in changing times and changing needs. And if you're the architect or engineer that is sitting there doing cookie cutter details, all of your projects are going to look the same. They're never going to be modified. They're never going to, come to current standards unless you completely change all your details. And so we do that for each project.
Amazing. And you're almost like a project manager too, right? Because you oversee it from start to finish.
Well, the architect, so there's a pyramid, all right, in construction. So there's the owner-client, and there's the architect. And then everybody else falls underneath that pyramid. So as an architect, we're trained, or at least I was, in every single engineering discipline there is. I had to take all of the courses, mechanical engineering, electrical, plumbing, civil, you name it, structural. So those are the key components of that. But I have to know all these things, and I physically have to know how to do all these things. Do I have the time to do that all the time? No, because my focus is on serving my client, making sure the design is what it should be, and then coordinating the entire set. So I'll go out to many different engineering companies and have them do aspects of it, but I'm always overseeing the whole project so that there's a common thread. Any project that you see, there's a common thread through the entire project of what that design was, whether it's for the site or for the building, it's sinuous, right? So the other thing that people don't realize is that the architect is responsible for coordinating the entire set of drawings from every single discipline. That way, when the contractor's in the field and the HVAC contractor comes in and needs to put in a 30-inch pipe, that steel beam's not in the way, right? So we have to look and foreshadow all these things in our plans as we're going through a plan review before we officially issue a set.
So Joe, what would be your recommendation for somebody that says, I want to be an architect? A young individual coming out of high school. We know we have at least 5 years of college. What's your recommendation?
Don't.
No, come on now. You love what you do.
I love what I do, but it is not for the faint of heart. Architecture has the highest dropout rate of any academic program. Historically, always has.
Okay.
It's a 10% rule. 10% stay within the first year. 10% graduate.
Wow.
10% become registered.
That's why the field is so predominant.
So, it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but a doctor kills one person at a time in surgery, okay? An architect kills hundreds.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Never thought of it that way.
Think about that. You're responsible for an entire building.
Yeah.
You're responsible for all the people that are in that building. Something happens that's wrong with the design of the building, and that happens. That's how I put my head on the pillow at night, is to know that I did my job and that the people in the buildings that I design are going to be safe.
Okay, we're going to go into something fun now. For this episode of Mind Your Biz, now we're going to mind Joe's biz. Are you ready?
Let's go, lightning round.
All right. Favorite food?
Meat. Any meat.
Any meat.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite thing to do in your downtime?
Oh, wow. I like gardening. I like propagating plants. I like doing sculpture. I like doing a lot of things. I like being outdoors.
Okay. Something that Joe has done that nobody would ever believe that he did.
I can't share that.
We'll keep it clean.
Bungee jumped off a crane in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't have expected that of you. All right. Dogs or cats?
Dogs, definitely. I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, okay. All right. And favorite ice cream flavor?
Pistachio.
A lot of pistachios.
Why is that?
Yeah. Almost everybody that I've asked that question has
It's the
said
best flavor of all,
pistachio.
especially if it's gelato.
I like the stracciatelle. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I'm an only child, really.
I know your family.
There's 5 of us in total.
Okay. And where do you want to retire?
So, where I studied, where I fell in love with architecture and the culture in Firenze.
Firenze.
Florence, Italy. Florence, Italy. That was probably the highlight of my educational career, was to be able to study in Italy through Pratt.
I have to say that has been my absolute favorite part of Italy. And as I mentioned earlier, I've traveled the country quite a bit. My favorite is definitely Firenze.
It's the cultural center. I mean, the Medici family, they were the patrons of all the artists. Michelangelo was there forever, and all of his works are still there.
And another structure that's still standing, look at that, the Ponte Vecchio.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful bridge that had so many uses, right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us today, Joe.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited that you were here. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Orange County Chamber of Commerce's Mind Your Biz.